Love this guy, talking to him each and every week, even when I'm on the road. It is Cooper Mays, Tennessee offensive lineman extraordinaire. We love talking to him, and it's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. We're closing in on that Orange Bowl, and I can also tell that Cooper's a little further from the grind of the season. You seem a little peppier, maybe a little bit less beat up. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, there's nothing better than getting a little bit of get a little bit of time off, a little bit of rest in the middle of the season. It's like a little bye week.
Yep. Well, that's good. You guys are getting ready to hit it. Already been a workouts, and we'll be in full practice before you know it. And we've talked about gains that you want to make, but a lot has changed since. And I'm curious how the offense can benefit from this time now that you have a coaching change and Alex Golish, who gets his much deserved opportunity to be a head coach. How can you guys best adapt to that in this bowl scenario?
I think just kind of building on what we've been doing all year. I mean, we still know how to play football. I mean, we've got our offense. We know how to run it, and I think we can kind of just take it and run with it, keep building on it, and find pieces that are working with some of the guys that we have that are out or whatever. So we just got to find ways to overcome and kind of adapt.
It feels like to me that everybody on the has been on the same page with this offense. So I'm not saying that Alex isn't a loss. Don't get me wrong, but it does seem like it could be easily transitionable because the head coaches, we know Josh Heupel is very involved with the offense. You got Joey Halsey who's there. It seems like this is an offense that's a group with Josh at the top, but it's a group, and that includes you, who handles a lot of the front calls as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to be okay. Everything's got to end up being okay anyway if we want to win. So that's the biggest thing. I mean, I love Golish. Golish was a great OC for us, and just being around him every day, he's got a great personality and kind of an infectious energy to him. But we gotta find ways to move on and kind of overcome the challenges that we have and find a way to get a dub.
And then Joey Halsey, I'm curious what you think of him, because a lot of people think he'll just slide into that OC position. We'll see. But just your thoughts on him as a coach. I mean, he is ascending the coaching ladder incredibly quickly. It's just a couple of years. He was like an analyst, and now he could be an OC in the SEC. That's pretty incredible.
For sure. I think Halsey is probably one of my favorite coaches overall on the whole staff, personally. Just a great guy, great human, and kind of the same way, an infectious energy, and just kind of loves being out there with us. I think it's something that he thoroughly enjoys, and he just kind of loves the game and loves being around his players, and he definitely builds confidence in all of us, and especially his quarterbacks.
Right before we went on the air to record this podcast, and I want to remind you, it's brought to you by our friends at City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. The Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. They will make sure you get the best service for your HVAC unit, and integrity matters, so they give you the right prices and the fair prices. That's what City Heating and Air Conditioning is all about. But right before we went on, my phone blew up that Darnell Wright had decided to forego his final season. To be honest with you, Cooper, I get confused with the COVID year. I don't know how many years you guys have left sometimes, but
Yeah.
you talk about a guy that's ready for the NFL. That's a guy who's ready for the NFL.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, if you look at, the body of work he's put together this season, and, you may say like forego his last year of eligibility, but let's be real, in a normal, in a normal college football circumstance, this would have been his final year anyway. So I think it's time for him to move on. I think he's got a great opportunity ahead of him at the Senior Bowl, and I think he's got a lot of opportunities to prove himself as a guy that can maybe sneak into the first round. I mean, I think it's totally possible, and I've always said that. So I definitely believe in that. I think he's going to go to the Senior Bowl and have a really good week, and I think he's going to climb the ranks a little bit, and then I think he's going to go to the combine and do really well there.
Well, you brought up his physical ability, but sneak into the first round, I think, is very possible for another reason altogether. And that's one, right tackles, if that's where he's projected, maybe a little bit lower. But if there's a problem at left tackle, that you can flip him there, I would think, with his feet. You've got some versatility there that most players don't have.
Right. I mean, I think he's a little bit more natural at right tackle, and I think people kind of underestimate how hard it is really to switch sides like that. I think it's a little bit harder. I think it's probably better to keep him on one side. But like you said, I mean, he's a freak athlete and just great with his body. So it wouldn't be something that he couldn't do. But I mean, if you look at his body of work that he's put together this year against the rushers that he's been against, I mean, there's no reason why I think you should just let him, be where he's comfortable right now and just let him eat.
Uh, I agree. I mean, he did a fantastic. I know it was a group effort. Did a fantastic job. When I went back and watched the tape on Will Anderson, and just yeah, phenomenal player. You called it early. Said he was just an incredible athlete, and it's shown up. Yeah. I will give him the ultimate compliment, Cooper. How about this? I'm a Cowboys fan. I think the Cowboys need to draft him as early as possible.
I think all teams in the NFL need to draft him personally. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess yeah. There's a couple I'm sure that probably don't need a right tackle, but, I mean, it never can hurt to have somebody that is that good and can move that well at that size.
Yeah, my Cowboys fandom comes through only every once in a while. But let's talk about some other guys that had decisions to make. Cedric Tillman, and you and I talked about opt outs before. He decided to opt out of the Orange Bowl against Clemson. I can understand that for a number of reasons. The ankle injury never really seemed to get 100%. And your thoughts on his decision to opt out of the Orange Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, definitely would never speak badly on anybody's decision. Like I said earlier, in the probably last show or the one before. I mean, everybody's got different situations, and you know, nobody knows what's going on in somebody else's brain. You know what I'm saying? So, what's best for somebody else is completely their call. And like you said, I mean, getting injured is tough to come back from. It really is. I mean, I dealt with it all year last year. Like you just never really feel right or feel back to your probably normal self until the next spring probably comes with something like that. So it's just something that nags and keeps probably getting re-injured. So I have no blame on him at that part.
And you had an ankle too, specifically like
Yeah, we
him.
had, we had the same injury. Yeah.
I mean, okay, well, take me through the time frame of when you felt decent enough to play A, and then decent enough to play well, and then 100%.
I mean, I probably can't put like a timestamp on the first two, but feeling 100% probably didn't come until probably February, maybe. I don't know. I mean, mid January. Just it really just takes. I mean, think about it this way: if you're a middle school football player and you have a high ankle sprain, that's a youthful body. That's a probably around the same healing time. How long is a doctor really going to say you probably need to sit out this long? Let's be real, it's not going to be like 2 weeks. Nobody says that. A doctor that has, a doctor's probably going to say you probably need to, sit down for a pretty good long while before that thing gets really healed. So, it's a painful injury. I can't even lie.
And especially as much cutting as he has to do. I completely understand that as well. The question a lot of Tennessee fans would ask if there were a championship at stake, would some of these decisions be different? Can you give us any insight to those? Not just Cedric, but with anybody. How would that affect a decision that somebody might have to make?
I I can't even speak for them. That's all up to them. You would have to ask them. I would never judge anybody on that. I'm happy for them and happy with what they're doing and as long as they're good, I'm good.
Well, the other guy that's going to be good is Jalen Hyatt, and there was some question that he might return for another season. To me, that seemed a little bit questionable. As much as he's done, if I were him, I would head to the NFL. What were your thoughts on his decision as well to move on to the NFL?
I think it's the right call. I mean, there's no certainty in this game. Each play could be your last, and I think you got to do what's best for you and your family first, and probably every aspect in life. If you look at anybody criticizing the decision, let's be real. If they had something go terribly wrong at their job, they would want to leave. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you can't judge somebody when I'm sure most people in the same situation would do the same thing.
Who are some of the guys when you guys really start hitting that you'd like to bring along from a young standpoint that you've seen glimmers in on the offensive line that you'd like to say, hey, you can have a big impact in 2023 and beyond. Let's start to get this ball rolling in bowl practice.
Shoot, that's probably. I mean, it's hard because they're on a different side of the field of us, really, for most of the part. They're working with the defense, trying to service them. So it's hard. There's guys you look at. I mean, all of them are high level recruits or pretty good level recruits, and they're all big and strong. So I'm really trying to get all of them along. We need all the help we can get, and in any year, you never know what's going to happen. Like last year, I mean, we went through probably 4 interior O linemen within a season. So you really got to bring everybody along. There's a lot of guys that will probably need to step up next year.
So you were talking about the O line working with the defense as kind of essentially the scout team, right? The second
Yeah,
team.
the young guys always work with the defense on a different field. So
Gotcha. Okay, well let's go back to Darnell Wright. Other than an incredible athlete, what do you lose from a leadership standpoint? What do you lose when he moves on?
just a really infectious personality at this point. Honestly, I think he's a guy that I think he has grown up a lot and kind of figured himself out, and I think that's allowed him to kind of just fit in a lot in the room. Everybody loves Darnell, so you know Darnell goes out there every Saturday and shows what he can do, and I think that inspires everybody. He does stuff that nobody else can do, and just seeing a guy like that develop so much, I mean, it's great for everybody around him.
I know when you were, let's go way back to when you were recruited. Okay. So I know you were a Tennessee fan, but give me, and I've got a destination here, so trust me. But when you're thinking about Tennessee as opposed to other schools, what was your view of Tennessee at the time, and how much was rebuilding a factor in your mind to go to Tennessee?
It wasn't a factor to me personally because when I committed that year, we finished out the season like 8-1. So like it looked like things were kind of on the up and up. So I kind of felt like we were getting back to that point where we built again. So it wasn't that big for me. I think a big thing for me was that it was close to home and that I could see my brother and everything. And plus, Pruitt and that whole staff loved me from the second they got to Knoxville. Like they never wavered. There were some other schools that stopped recruiting me and kind of realized like, oh shoot, this guy's 285, 290 pounds his senior year. Like he could play really good ball. And I think people tried to hop back on the board and try to sway me away. But I mean, I was 240 my junior year of high school, so I was really small, and Pruitt and them never wavered on their support of me. They always recruited me very heavily, really hard, and they always believed in who I was as a player and what I could do. And Pruitt told me I could play tight end, I could play fullback, I could play D tackle, I could play center, I could play D. They didn't care. They just wanted me to be on their team. They knew I could make an impact, and they always believed in me. So that was really big to me. That was huge for me. I've been doubted a lot my whole life, as far as looking at my size and stuff, and he never wavered. So it was really huge to me.
Well, then that kind of makes me shift gears a little bit as far as my next question, because you have guys like Arian Carter out of Smyrna. You have players that I think look at Tennessee a little bit different. Trevor Duncan is one player who, plays where you played at Catholic, and I just think that what you guys have done have changed. It has changed the way that prospects view Tennessee. Can you see that?
Well, it should, in my opinion. I mean, if you look at what we're doing right now, it's something pretty special. And if you're a part of this, if you're in this state and you don't want to be a part of it, I don't really know. Then probably you didn't want to be here from the beginning because I don't know how you could really turn it down being a home state kid. And if you have the opportunity to come here, you should probably come here. I mean, I think all around the country, I think Tennessee is a great place to be. There's no reason why we shouldn't, be getting big time looks or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, so people, Ryan Carter, and I don't know if you follow it as closely as you used to. You told me once you loved covering recruiting or following recruiting, but that's different when you get in school. But here's a guy who Alabama really wanted. You think Tennessee continues to win battles like that down the road with the stage you guys have set?
I'm sure. I mean, it's all about, prolonging success, and the more success you have, people just want to be a part of it. So I don't really know. I don't follow recruiting. Like I got so much stuff going on, trying to trying to take care of these other teams. So it's hard to focus on the high schoolers and stuff. But when they get here and they get here and show out, we'll love up on them and everything, make sure they're good, get them better. But I don't follow it as closely as I used to. I used to be a big recruiting guy. Like when I was in like middle school, all I could breathe was Tennessee recruiting. So that was that was my thing.
So you don't follow recruiting as closely, and that's definitely understandable. But just as far as your play, um, what can you work on in these next couple of weeks of bowl practice when you have a little bit more time to focus on yourself? Is there anything in particular you want to address as Cooper Mace?
Yeah, just honestly, just taking care of your body, getting some rest. I mean, I've played some pretty consistent ball. I've got my technique down pretty good. If I'm healthy and at my best, then not a lot of people can play with me really, I think. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm at my best when I, hit the field.
Do you know much about Trevor Duncan? That's a guy that Tennessee's recruiting. Do you know much about him? What can you tell me about him?
Yeah, I play with him. I've known him since middle school. I went to middle school with him. He's got an older brother named Cody Duncan. He was a walk on at Virginia Tech for a couple years. Um, yeah, me and Cody were really good friends, and then Trevor was 2 years younger, so it kind of like parallels the situation of me and Cade, I guess, a little bit. So he's I knew when he was a freshman in high school, I was a junior, I think, and he was a freshman. I mean, the kid had arms that went down to his knees, and he was like 6'5". I was like, this kid's gonna be special. I knew it. He was really long and lanky, but like I could tell if he filled out his frame, he was gonna be a force to be reckoned with. And you see he has. I mean, he's freaking huge. I mean, the kid's a stud. If you just off looking off, getting off the bus, you know what I'm saying?
But have you watched any tape of him? Have you actually seen him play?
I went and watched I went and watched one game this year. I don't really know. I think he may have had a foot injury or something this year, so he wasn't at like full speed. But um, it kind of reminds me of me, man. My senior year, I was banged up. I had a broken bone in my foot the whole year and didn't know it, and didn't really get it diagnosed until a little bit later on in the season. It sucked. So I haven't gotten to watch him in person as much, but I remember him back in the day, and I watched a little bit of his tape. And he's a strong kid. He's a big physical guy.
Well, things have worked out for you, so maybe they'll work out the same for him. There you go. Coop, enjoy practice. I know, yeah, nothing gets you as fired up as practice, but enjoy that, and we will talk to you soon. Appreciate your time. The Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. That's cityheatandair.com. He's Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.